Hello everyone. In this video, we're gonna cover application gateway. We're gonna start with creating our virtual machines. We're gonna create two virtual machines, and that would be Windows virtual machine, and we're gonna install IIS server on it, web server, and then we're gonna do test for application gateway. So let's begin by creating our resource group first. So let's call it resource group East US. Okay, so resource group is created. Now let's create our virtual network. Unit East US. It kept the cache of previous one, so that's what's showing up. Okay, we're gonna keep the default IP address space and subnet, but we need to add application gateway subnet as well. Let's call it application subnet. Application gateway subnet. This will be used by our subnet application gateway, and let's assign it to 10.0 so 1.0-24 subnet. So it's have this much application gateway subnet, and let's add this one. Yep. Create and create. Now let's create this one. Okay, we'll wait for it to get created. Okay, perfect, that's done. Now let's create our network security group. We're gonna use same resource group to get it created. We're gonna call it N network security group East US. To wait for it to finish. And let's give it full access. Okay, our network security group has been created. Now let's create our two virtual machine which we were discussing. I'm gonna call it BM1-East US. And I also gonna add image here. Now I will show you why I call it image. Okay, we're gonna leave the rest of the setting as it is. And let's call it desktop username and then provide password. Okay, let me make sure I put in the right password. Okay, let's choose none and check this one next. Never, and then these settings should be as it is. Okay, make sure you use the default subnet here. That subnet, the other subnet which was coming was for our application gateway. And next, and just disable this monitoring. We won't gonna need this monitoring. That's done. And let's do create once it's passed the verification. Okay, so I'm back. I have muted because it was just building it. Okay, so that's done. Now let's copy this public IP address and let's do RDP and launch this machine. Connect. Hmm, that's interesting. It should let us in, but let's see. Yeah, it must be. Let me give it a. It must be the network security group that's causing problem. Let's quickly see our network security group. Okay, we got. I think it have created this one. Okay, no problem. Let me add this in there. We can change it to our. Oh no, we can change it to the network card, but let me add this group in and just add. And then, oh, yes, 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 yes. I think what we have missed there, we haven't associated this subnet to our, yes, that's where we have missed to our subnet. So let's add this one to default and press OK. Okay, that's why it's have created a second one, but that's done. And if I try now, there we go. So we missed to associate to our group. So okay, so let's wait for this VM to go in. Okay, while this machine is launching, it will take few minutes. Let's launch our second virtual machine to the same subnet. And we're gonna take the same resource group VM2 hyphen. This one I'm gonna call it video hyphen image is the first one, East US, and the values we're gonna use as default. I'm gonna call it desktop, and then password is none. Create. Okay, I'm just gonna put it on a mute while it's doing it, or maybe let's go to our RDP machine. Yeah, let's configure this one. So first thing first, let me disable the Internet Explorer settings, enhance setting to off, and let's install our IIS server here. IIS server or web server, they call it. Make sure you tick it. Okay, that's tick. Next, 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 and install. So while it's getting installed, let's jump back to our. Okay, just gonna wait for this one to disappear. Okay, this machine is still getting created. So this time you probably have noticed it pick up the default subnet. If you remember when we were building the other machine, uh, I think it's that one. It did not create it. It did created the. Let me see. Yeah, see, it created the resource group here. So that's where we missed it. We haven't configured it. So you can see it says NSG. So it created the IP address network security group, which we were not expecting it because we already created it. That's why we can't able to go into the machine. So let's go and check our this machine. We're going to this deployment. Get going to the resource. Let me see how we managed to see the settings. deployments here. So if you click on this one, if you click on, see, it does not say anything about this network security group because it's picked up the one which is already been created. Okay, that's a good thing to troubleshoot if you're not sure. Okay, now let's go to our VM2, get the public IP address and do another RDP. Sorry, RDP into it and launch it. And let's see, connect. Okay, perfect. Okay, we'll wait for this one to log in. Let's jump to our first machine, and as you can see, it's all done. And now if I want to use the web server here, so let me minimize this. So web server should be able to, so this is blocking the IP address, but let me do this local. So if I do localhost, as you can see, our server is coming over one dot home address. It will be doing the web server, so it means web server is up and running. So now what we need to do, this is VM1, which we're going to use for image purposes. So we're just going to label it image, and if you want to put something in there, it's up to you. So we're going to create a folder here, call it image. Make sure you get the right name, because that's the name you're going to enter into our application gateway, and then do just a basic HTML page, and we're gonna call it, this is my image folder, H1. Need to do this, and let's save this as index.html, and let's save. Okay, so that's done. And let's close this one. Oh, let's delete this one. And if I do now, image index.html, you can see my page comes up. Oh, sorry, did not put the right one. Let's correct this one. What you can do, you can open in a notepad. Let's get a notepad. Open. Perfect. So let's get this in. Need to put this one in small, and this will be other way around. Just save, refresh. Here we go. This is my image folder. Okay, so this is ready. Now let's configure our video machine. Okay, first thing first, let's disable this. Off. Okay, on this one. Minimize this. Oh, sorry. Need to install that. So let's open this one again. Add a rule. Next. Use web server. And install. Okay, gonna wait for this one to get installed. Okay, while it's doing it, let's grab the IP address for our first machine, and I'm just gonna use it from outside. Okay, this is our web server, and if I call it image-index.html, and this is coming up now, so let's wait for this one to finish. Okay, so we are waiting for our V2 web server to be ready. Should not take that long. Once it's done, we're gonna configure our application gateway. Okay, it's just taking a few more minutes. Yeah, it's coming up on this side, but let's wait for this one to finish. Okay, so that's installed. Let's close this one off. And if I go to Internet, sorry, File Explorer, go to my PC. Under C, we got in pub folder, root folder. In here, let's create a folder called video. And let's create a notepad file. I will call it index.html. We will rename it anyway. So what we're gonna call this one h1, just a basic HTML file. This is video folder, and let's close h1 and save as, and let's double quote it in front and at the back. Save, close, and let's delete this one. I'm just gonna test this as well. Okay, you can see it's coming up. This is my video folder. So we got video folder and we got image folder in our VMs on a web server. So now let's go to our Azure and let's try to configure application gateway. You can type it up there. I have typed it in the past, so that's why it's coming up as my cache. And let's create. There are three things which we need to create in application gateway, and you're gonna see while we are doing it now. I'm gonna call it application hyphen gateway hyphen east US. And application, see, it's picking up the wrong resource group. Make sure you select the right one, East US. Okay, standard. Okay, auto scaling, we're gonna go for 1 and let's say 4. HTTP availability zone we won't gonna use this time, and on this HTTP2 we just gonna disable it. We don't need it for now, just a basic demo. And let's select our virtual network, and as you can see it picks up application gateway automatically. Let's create our front end. Okay, it's gonna need an IP address. You have three options: private or public or both. So but we will go for public for this demo, and I'm gonna call it gateway IP hyphen east US, and that's done. And let's, oops, it did not pick up. So gateway IP hyphen east US. Let me go next. Now it's asking to create our backend pool. So for backend pool, the first VM, I'm gonna call it image pool. So all our images should be in that pool, and we're gonna select virtual machine option from here, and we're gonna select this VM, but this is pointing to its NIC card of that VM. Select this one and add. And now we're gonna do the second machine, which is our video pool. And same options, we're going to use virtual machine, and target, as a target we're going to select our second VM NIC card and add this one in. Okay, now let's go next configuration. pretty sure we have added okay, let's minimize this. No, I think that's created. It's just not showing up. So our back front end is created, our back end pool is created. Now we need to create our root. For some reason it did not. Let me just call it IP and add. Okay, for some reason it not pick up. So now it's created. Okay, now let's add our root in. And okay, now let's create our listener first. So I'm gonna call it listener gateway hyphen east US, and listener, sorry, it's a rule. So let me cut this one and put it here. I'm gonna call it just a gateway rule hyphen east US, and listener name we're gonna copy and paste the one which we use. We're gonna use HTTP. If you want to make it more secure, you can use HTTPS. Port is default. Listener type is basic. Error page, we're not using error page at the moment. Let's create our backend targets. Okay, in the backend target, the first target we're gonna use is image pool. We haven't created HTTP settings now, so we're just gonna create HTTP setting. You can name it anything. I'm gonna call it HTTP setting East US, and I'm gonna keep these settings as it is, and rest should be alright. And just gonna do add. And now let's add multiple target to create this one. So let's click here. So this will be the path which you have created in your machine. So I'm gonna call it hyphen image hyphen wildcard. This is our and target name. I'm gonna call it path only. And this is our HTTP settings. So this is the main like backend target. You need to make sure that you select the right one. So image, I'm gonna select image and let's add. You can see this is added up here now. Now let's add our second one, which is our video hyphen static. So this static will mean anything which is under this video folder should pick up target name. I'm gonna call it part 2. You can name it anything, and this is our HTTP settings which we have used, and then this one is our backend target, which is video pool this time, and just add, and you can see both of our stuff has been added. Now click add. Okay, it's asking for IP address. Let's add this IP address and let's make sure it picks up everything right. Yep, as picked up, and let's add this one now. Okay, I will click next. If you want to mention tags, you can, but we're just gonna leave it like that, and let's hit create. Okay, this will take good 15-20 minutes. I'm just gonna pause the video here, and once it's created, I will come back. Let me pause this one now, and I will come back once it's ready.